Fuck that bear. So, would you rather be stuck in the forest with a man or a bear? What an actual stupid meme and conversation that turned out to be, right? So, check this out. Let me explain my first encounter with this question. So when I first saw this TikTok meme, I was a wee bit offended. I was a bit ticked off, and I showed my friends, and my friends immediately dismissed this, right? They immediately dismissed it, and they're just like, well, it's just another way for ladies to virtue signal, right? That when left without the social contract of society, men are but vicious beasts of whom will do whatever they wish to a young female. So it's not really serious, right? Like in a legitimate, honest world, right? There's no way a young lady would ever actually pick a bear over a man, right? It was dismissed, and I was like, yeah, I guess it is just goofy feminist prattle. Oh boy, was I wrong. So it's interesting because there were some young ladies that legitimately went out to have debates and arguments and tried to form a logical argument as to why they would rather be stuck in the forest with a bear than a man. I know this is real because I participated in one such debate.
Because I'm wearing a Winnie the Pooh necklace right now.
So you think Pooh Bear? He's gonna dap you up in the forest?
No.
Right? But then I thought about it more, and there's like a lot of reasons why I would choose a bear. One of them being that the odds of me scaring a bear away are much higher than me scaring a man away. I have pretty much 0% chance of scaring a man, whereas a bear is almost always equally afraid of me as I am of it. Also, bears are much more predictable than humans are.
The wild animal.
Here, look. I mean, for real, it's like they think of a wild man in the forest, and they just interpret that man as like Dark Riku or something.
Open the door. Lead me into everlasting darkness.
Sora! Forget it. There's no way you're taking Kairi's heart.
Now, there is something really off about this perception of young men. Not just that it's extremely offensive, but like it also really doesn't map onto reality very well. And that is, if the perception is that the social contract is what keeps the bad men in lieu in front of the good men, then as a young lady you would have to assume that the probability of encountering a bad man is really high versus the probability of encountering a pretty alright to good man out in the middle of the forest, right? Like you would have to, like if you were to make a graph or a pie chart, right? Like the possibility of meeting that terrible dude has to be high. But what's interesting is if most men, based on the social contract, aren't trying to be bad people, then why would you assume that if you were in the middle of the forest without a man that he would have a high chance of harming you, if most men don't already in modern society as it is? Because either most men are evil, or there's a high probability that you just encounter an evil man that wishes to harm you. Is either that, or the social contract of being in front of other men makes most men who are bad act good. But if that were the case, and most men are just acting good and just waiting for their opportunity to be bad, then why is there a social contract to appear good to begin with if most of us are bad in the first place? If most men really are just opportunistic and just waiting for their opportunity to harm women, then that would mean that most men would be on the same wavelength. So why would we pretend to be in a rational society when we could just Mad Max this, right? Like if we could just harm ladies, why don't we? Right? Like when you start thinking about it, it's really just absurd, man. Like they really view young men like we're just waiting around with a level 82 Pikachu on the top of the mountaintops, ready to just slay them or something. It's like, you really have to... Here's the thing. One thing that I thought was just insane was the retort that, like, what is a man, like, doing in the forest? That's had to be, like, one of the dumbest responses I'd heard to this whole bear thing. Because it pretends that, like, men don't go out into the forest to just fish. Or, like, men don't go out into the forest to just, like, hunt. Like deer, right? Like, they're not looking for a woman out in the forest. What are you talking about? Like, men don't just go out into the forest to just camp and just be by themselves. They do that. There are some men that will go out into the middle of the wilderness to just build dirt forts. They just build dirt. Like, no one asked them to. They're just minding their own business, building a dirt fort. It's like, if you're like, this is what's insane to me. Their perception of danger is that, like, the man who's in the forest is the one that's hunting for a woman to kidnap and rape. Like, that, he's the man that's doing that, not the man who went to a nightclub. I gotta tell you, man, like, their perception of young men, it's like they see us and they just hear one-winged angel. They just look at men they don't know, and they're just waiting for the descend, heartless angel.
I see. So that's a Keyblade. And I suppose you must be its chosen wielder.
So what if I am?
I wonder if it won't change its mind once I defeat you. Show me your strength. That's enough.
I gotta tell you, man, they view men they don't know like we're David from Fate Grand Order. Like, we just want for destruction. We just want to end the whole world. They see us. they imagine just a dastardly villain. They just imagine David is just here. He's just coming for the cheeks or something.
You know what I want. Now give it to me.
The Dragon Ball's right there!
Oh, I'm not here for the Dragon Ball.
What?
Spread them.
Now, look, listen, I'm not saying that there aren't bad men in the world. Not at all. But what I am saying is that it is a little absurd to just think on just the pure probability that if you were to take a random dude, that his desires and his wants is purely focused on just simply taking the cheeks. I'm gonna say it that way, right? Because it's funny, number one, but number two, that is essentially what ladies are implying. They are implying that overwhelmingly, at the very least, or there's a high chance or high probability that if they were to encounter a man in the forest, that without any social standing, he will take what he desires from her, and that is purely her wop. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Do I think that this is extremely offensive to young men? Very much so. So much so that I'll kind of make an entire video about it, specifically in the near future. But if we're just going to focus on the bear question, it kind of does highlight something that I think is a little strange and off. And that strange off thing is that women are indeed, at least implying, that their vaginas, or their quote-unquote chastity, or I guess their just ability to control having their cheeks clapped by a man they don't want, is more important than their lives. And I'm gonna be honest with you, there is something kind of sad and off about a woman prioritizing a man she doesn't want having sex with her over her life. Now, let me be clear, okay? Now, I don't normally do this because I find it performative, and I think this is a cold take. I think this is a Blizzard take, okay? This is so cold that I'm not really saying anything effective, but I despise rapists. I utterly despise them. They disgust me greatly, for numerous different reasons, but to voice that out, what is that, like, am I special to say that? Like, I'm not gonna go like, oh, I just want them to be all castrated and stuff. They can't. Like, I'm not gonna be all. It's performative, right? Because we're not gonna do that. That's just too much. So I'm gonna say this with full understanding, right? It's clear between you and me, dear viewer, that just like privately in my own thoughts, these men gross me out and disgust me, and I hate them with a passion. I really don't. But again, that's a Blizzard take. That's cold, right? You know what I'm saying? That's not really saying anything significant. So I say that to make this greater point, and that is, for as much as I despise rapists, there's something a lot worse about murderers. Okay? There's something a little bit worse about someone that will just end your tenure on Earth. You're just gonna end your time in this timeline. You're gone, buddy. You're out of this. You gotta, you gotta reset. Right? You gotta go talk to God now, right? There's something, to me, a little bit worse about that. I promise, bro. I have to imagine that a lot of young ladies view us like Alex Mercer.
You just don't get it, do you? I gave you everything, and this is how you come to me. Can't you understand what I'm doing? Humanity is stagnant, dying. I would give it one body, one mind. Think about it. No more conflict, no more disease, no more suffering. Don't you see? I'm giving it a second chance.
Enough of your fucking weird, fucking rambling shit! Give me my daughter!
No, I don't think so. It's time you gave me something. You see, young Amaya shares your brand of annoyingly resilient DNA. And when she's ready, your daughter will become the mother of the new world. So now the only thing standing between me and Earth's true destiny is you.
And I do think that we've done young ladies quite the disservice when they perceive that, like, their vaginas are far more important than the whole of their entire lives. So much so that they would prefer to be eaten slowly by a bear than to encounter maybe a man that's going to rape them. Maybe that will happen in the scenario, right? But here's the thing, you can still engage in combat with a man that's trying to rape you. You can do something in this situation, which is kind of what I was saying in the conversation or the debate I had, right? Like, there's more options to face off with a man than to face off with a bear. You have to hope that at 5'2", 135, you can scream enough for the 7 foot, 8 foot tall bear to be scared of you, right? Like, you have to hope that you can terrify the bear. You're all a 5'5", 155, and that's gonna make the bear scared? Maybe. But the thing that's so interesting is when you look at it logically, it's like, well, you can talk to a man, right? Like, if, like, ladies think that, like, I can't rationalize with a man that wants to take my cheeks. It's too much. He desires me so much. And it's like, maybe? I don't know, maybe he can't be reasoned with, or maybe the member of your species doesn't have that desire for you to begin with, and you can just talk to him. Here's the thing, like, if you really want to go the extra mile, he can attempt to grape you, he can even successfully do it, I know this is terrible to say, and then he can go to sleep, and then you could stab his eye out, right? Like, that's pretty graphic, but you could do that, and now you don't have to worry about it anymore, right? It's like, the thing is, like, you can't really do much in combat with a bear. So here's the thing, if we're gonna be honest, truth be told, the bear doesn't really matter. In fact, it could have been anything, right? The long and short is, right, like, for example, it could have been this. It's like, would you rather be stuck in the mountaintops with a fire-breathing dragon or the immortal Iron Fist, right? And the ladies would have answered the question all the same. They would have been like, well, Shao the Undying can, like, literally incinerate every cell in my body once, But the immortal Iron Fist can kick my ass 6 ways to Sunday and then put me in his rape dungeon and then use his chi-infused fist to... I just realized the imagery.
You really are a very crude person, aren't you?
Like, some ladies, they seem to really think young men are out here trying to bury the light. So, look, again, we have to be fair here. Not every lady is androphobic. Not every lady picked the bear when asked a question. Some women answer the question correctly. So let's just be fair, okay? It's not every lady. It's a lot of them. It does look, at least on the internet, like it's a 50-50 split, which is damning unto itself. But we're going to be fair. Not every lady did pick the bear. So just to be clear and understand that, okay? That being said, there are a lot of ladies dealing with androphobia, and I think a lot of women do need to face that fear. If the bear conversation showed me anything, it showed me that a lot of ladies do not have that dog in them. A lot of ladies, they don't have that fight. They don't have that grit. They don't have that part of them that rages against the machine, right? That looks danger in the face and says, no, I'm not gonna let you do this, right? Like that anime Natsu Dragoneel battle spirit. They don't have that, bro. And that's what I realized. I realized a lot of ladies, they do not have that dog in them. I realized a lot of them don't have, I will not let you take my wife! So, I say all of this to lead me here, to our conclusion, which is why, at first the bear conversation offended me. Then the bear conversation made me think women, or some of them, were a little silly, kind of stupid. Then I realized that a lot of ladies, they don't have that dog in them. They don't have that spirit, that heroic battle spirit within them. I realized that. But it kind of leads me to this. There's two things that I need to say. And here's the first thing I need to say. First thing I need to say is the bear conversation really shows us that a lot of ladies, again, not all, let's be clear, let's be fair, not all of them, but a lot of them do not have a perception of good and evil. And I'm gonna be honest with you, that's really weird to me. Like, as an individual that watched Saturday morning cartoons, it's kind of strange that a lot of ladies didn't develop this understanding of good versus evil. It's like they really don't grasp that there are good, heroic men, if not average to do guys, and then evil men who do indeed wish to harm and hurt you. Like, they'll watch a true crime documentary so they know they exist, but like they've never tempered that with, again, all of the myriads of entertainment in movies, in cartoons, in comic books, in video games, and just TV shows of men who are indeed good people doing good things because it's the right thing to do. It's so bizarre to me. So here's the thing. Like, I realize, right, that if you're a lady and you've made it this far into the video, thank you. But I realize that a lot of the references I was making to the anime and video game characters, I was saying, like, I understand that you guys are probably like, I don't know who those are. That's okay. That's okay. Because the point of showing that was not just to be funny, although part of it was to be funny. The point of me using those different video game references was to show you guys that there is example of video game after video game after video game after story after movie after book after book after video game after movie after video game after story after video game after movie after book after story 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 of good men fighting bad men. We know, as men, we know there are bad men That's why we have story after story after story after story after book after movie after story of good men fighting bad men. Like, no one is saying that there aren't bad men in the world, but we know. And that's why we have so many depictions of good versus evil and men doing what they can to fight the bad men. What's so strange to me is that ladies think the probability of encountering a bad man is greater than the probability of encountering a good man, when overwhelmingly any story that any male interacts with is an example of a good man trying to do something to protect the world. Or maybe his friends or his family or whatever the flip. I mean, at this point, I think you guys get it. So, look, listen. The sisterhood's gonna have to answer for this one. This isn't something the Mennonist can really address. MRAs can't really touch this one. I don't think this one's for the red pillars. I don't think this one's for the black pillars. This one ain't for the incels. This one's for the sisterhood. And so now this leads me to the final point that I need to make today. So I'm going to use my man here, John Cannon. Which is funny. I actually met this guy, and he's cool. I like him. He's nice. You guys should go over to check out his TikTok. He's a nice guy. I like him. Anyway, so John Cannon made this TikTok. And I think this is why I don't do videos on trending topics, by the way, guys. Because the internet, it always pays dividends if you're patient. And I'm really glad that John Cannon made this video here. So we're going to watch it.
Well, there is a man named Wade Wilson. You see, Wade Wilson is a violent criminal. He violently killed 2 women, along with a slew of other charges. But there's something special hold on. Because these women are making edits. They're making edits of this man. And where are we? She said, I fear I need therapy. Why? Because you're attracted to a violent murderer? And you know, that was just one of the edits. Bro, just type in Wade Wilson and then go to these comment sections. These women love him. It just reminds me of something that happened, 2-3 months ago maybe now? Where, excuse me for laughing, this is quite comical. Where there was a question posed, would you rather be in the woods with a man or a bear? And the men were like, yo, a regular man, like, you talking about 1% of the 1% that grape and murder. You know, like, yo, we scared of them too. Like, we don't want to be around them boys either, but like, you rather be in the woods with a bear versus a man? But here we have a man who is exactly who y'all think he is. But he's fucking handsome. He's an attractive guy. That's all it takes. Y'all making TikTok edits. You should be fucking embarrassed. It's not just a few. There's a lot of women. A lot of women who are like, oh, Lord Jesus, I know he got tattoos all on his face. I know he killed 2 women. But it's just, oh, Lord Jesus, I just need them. What the fuck is wrong? And you know what I don't want to hear? I don't want to hear any women saying, it's not all of us. Not all of us think like that. No, because you thought all men were more dangerous than, okay, we're not gonna.
Like I said, you know, the reason why I don't do videos on trending topics is because the internet will always pay out its dividends. And this is a great example of that. You know, at first, when I was on TikTok and I learned about Wade Wilson, I didn't actually see very many ladies actually, you know, fawning over him, apart from like a few edits. But then later on, it turns out there's this news article where ladies sent 4,000 love letters, some of which containing nudies, to a man who literally killed one woman and then ran over another woman until she, in his own words, looked like spaghetti. You know, the worst thing about Wade Wilson is if you stop and think about it, he's him. He's really him. He's the guy trying to bury the life. Wade Wilson is him. Wade Wilson is legitimately the guy that ladies say they don't want to find in the forest. But he's the one that gets 4,000 love letters. You know, it's those type of stories, man, where at first I'm like, to be fair, this is my original take. I had to remake this. I had to re-record this. My original take was, to be fair, I only really saw a few ladies in the comment sections fawning over him. But that article, 4,000 with some nudies, and I'm done. You know, it's interesting because for as much as the sisterhood would probably like to convince us that this is abnormal, this bristophilia, this is that's weird. They're weird. They're not. That's not how most ladies operate. I'm inclined to agree with you. I don't think most ladies do operate like this. But there is a little bit of a problem at the fact that a noticeable chunk of them do. Don't worry, we'll get to it. Because before we proceed, I need to make sure we're all on the same page here. That while Wade Wilson might have been the internet sensation, there was something else I had noticed. And that was this. I was watching a documentary on the gang wars that happened here in Jacksonville. And it was an interesting point that kept occurring. While the presenter discussed the numerous drive-bys that occurred. This thing, it just kept coming up again and again and again. And that was some of the ops, some of the targets of these assassination attempts. Some of the people who got hit were the girlfriends of the original target. One I remember off the top of my head lost her finger. Another at the top of my head lost her life. I remember there's a story about how one of these dudes, his mom ends up getting shot at or something of the other, right? It was really interesting to me at the fact that these literal killers who went and rapped about the fact that they literally killed other people in their neighborhoods that they don't own, by the way, repping gangs and street corners that they don't own, by the way, that these wild hooligans, these evil men who killed their own brothers over thorns and thistles, over absolutely nothing but gang titles and just living on a different side of the street, they all had girlfriends who ended up getting shot at, some of which maimed, some of which killed. And I find it also very interesting that I have never heard a thug nigga ever complain about the fact that he can't find a woman to be with. You know, it's interesting to bring this up because while it might be the case that most women do not want these vile, evil males, I can grant that. The problem is that more women want those men than a Poindexter. In conclusion, no, I genuinely do not think that all ladies feel this way. But what is critical here is that more ladies would pick men like Wade Wilson than they would pick a dweeb or a Poindexter or a nerd or a geek. So it doesn't really matter if it isn't majority of them. The fact that evil men like this always have a subsect more than nerdy weird dudes have is a slight against Team Woman. Team Woman, you guys have to address this one, because I promise you, Wade Wilson, he's the white murderer, but black ladies have the thugs, the gangsters. I guarantee you, if a street interviewer came up and asked them a different variation of the original question, I imagine if he were to ask them, would you rather be stuck in the forest with a nerd or a thug nigga? I almost guarantee you, I would rather be stuck in the forest with a thug, because a thug would probably have a gun and he can protect me from the bear. Like I said, Teen Woman, you guys gotta talk about that one. With that being said, man, I'm going to end the video by saying this. Listen. Again, I know it's not all women. I know it's not all women. I don't even think it's significant, like 25% of them. But unfortunately, too many ladies have gotten really comfortable saying that they would rather be with a bear or hang around a bear, or their fear of males have gotten to such a ludicrous point that an obvious hypothetical like this is just another opportunity for them to complain and besmirch men. All the while, the males that they will literally reproduce with, some of you ladies, will literally have children with, are the men that other ladies say are the terrible bad men they don't like. Team woman, guys, you gotta address this, okay? You gotta talk about this one, because there's some weird whiplash yo-yoing going on that just ain't making a lot of sense. I gotta tell you that honestly, here's how I finally feel in conclusion about the bear question, is that any woman that says she'd rather be stuck in the forest with a bear over a man is full of shit. So with that being said, I certainly hope you guys got something out of today's video. I doubt it. But if you did, I don't know, man, go and click the like button. Go and click that subscribe button. Comment in the comment box below. And as always, you guys have yourselves a great day. I will see you cool cats soon. Adios.